Hi everybody, Greg Hartman. Welcome to the Alzheimer's Support Community YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And the video I'm going to do now, I actually promised a few months back before we paused on the channel. And by the way, we're back, so you'll be seeing a video a week minimum from Sid and I up on the channel. But if you remember the last video, and you know, it's on the channel below, you can look at it if you haven't seen it, but it was about basically protecting somebody from themselves when they have Alzheimer's disease and how to keep your loved ones safe. Because remember, their short-term memory is gone. And you know, I shared a lot about my dad, like I couldn't keep a Band-Aid on him because he would feel this thing on his head and he'd pull it off. And you know, you can't tell them, don't touch that, because they don't remember. So the various ways I had to get creative, and sometimes even unconventionally so, to keep my dad safe. Well, one of the things I mentioned, and I'm going to show pictures of it, is how his hospital bed evolved from a simple hospital bed to a safe adult-sized crib. So, you know, he was under hospice care, and, you know, I want to do a shout out to hospice because they are literally angels. They are lifesavers. You know, I could not have cared for my dad at home the way I did without the support of hospice. And, you know, particularly the nurse that was my partner, Ada, she was amazing and really brought a level of loving support and care to Dad that I'm forever grateful for. So Ada, shout out to you, girl. Still love you and appreciate all the good work you do with all the people who really need it. So anyway, you know, when Dad showed up, we had a hospital bed. So the day it was delivered, it had bed rails that were literally about 2 feet long, maybe 3. No, they weren't even 3 feet. They were maybe 18 inches, 2 feet long. And I said to Ada, I said, there's no way these are keeping Dad contained in the bed. You know, I got to do something. So I went to the trusty Amazon and started searching bed rails, and I found these extendable bed rails that I think extended out to about 60 inches. So I bought those, and that covered most of the bed. It left like a 1 foot gap at the foot of the bed, maybe a 1 foot gap or less at the head of the bed. And we purposely slid the rails down more because we found Dad would never try and climb out through the top of the bed, but he would inch down and try and go out through the bottom, because many mornings we found him kind of sitting between the gap of the end of the rail and the footboard of the bed. So that worked as long as it did. And then one morning I got up, you know, 7 a.m., 6:30, whatever, walked into the kitchen to make coffee, and his hospital bed was just off the kitchen in the family room. So that way, you know, we could keep an eye on him. And he was up, standing on the side of the bed, holding the handrail. So he had now figured out how to get out through the little gap. There's even something before this. I want to go back and you'll see it in the picture. So on the bed rails, there were like 2 horizontal bars. And one night in the middle of the night, I woke up to my dad screaming, and I thought, oh my God, what's going on? And I came out to the family room, and what he had done is he had wedged one of his legs between the mattress and the bottom bar on the bed rail. And, you know, it was just stuck in there, but, you know, when you have dementia, you freak out, and he was screaming, and I helped him get his leg freed, and then everything was good. So my next door neighbor loves to sew, so I told her, she came over to see Dad, and I told her about the problem, and she says, oh, I can take some measurements and I'll sew a cover. So basically we covered the bed rail like with a big piece of cloth, simply so he couldn't stick his leg through anymore and get caught. So that worked, you know, and continued to work right up to the end. But then he started sneaking out what I thought was between the gap in the bed rail and the footboard. So I didn't quite know what to do about that. And then a couple mornings later, I came out and I caught him in the process of trying to get out of bed. And I figured out what he was doing was he was inching himself to the very bottom of the bed and then literally climbing over the footboard and getting out. So he was actually going out the end of the bed. So I thought, what can I do about this? So, you know, right down the street, I have the trusty Home Depot, and right next door to it is the lovely Harbor Freight Tools. So I went to Home Depot and I measured, and I had 2 pieces of plywood cut that were the width of the bed and then about 2 to maybe 3 feet high. You'll see it in the picture. And then I went to Harbor Freight because it's way cheaper than Home Depot, and I bought a bunch of, you know, made in China C-clamps, okay? And I took big C-clamps and I simply clamped this piece of plywood to the footboard and to the headboard of the bed, so it created a wall he couldn't get over, you know? And this is a wall that's actually working. A little bad political joke there, but I'm building walls to keep my dad safe, you know? So he, you know, couldn't get out of the bed anymore. But then I found he kept trying to get out by squeezing through that little gap between the footboard and the end of the bed rail. So I again went back to the lovely Harbor Freight, and they have like lashing straps you can buy, you know, to tie down cargo or tie down, you know, luggage or whatever. And I didn't get the ones that ratchet, but I got the ones that just have the little buckle you slip through, and you'll again see them in the picture of the bed. They're yellow. And what we did is we looped those around the footboard and around the bed rails to create a barrier at both the foot of the bed and at the head of the bed. And then Dad was literally trapped, like he was safe in his crib and couldn't get out. Now, after we did that, there were many mornings I would literally find him in that little gap. His legs would be through, and that yellow band would be across his chest, and he'd be sitting there stuck. And, you know, thankfully he wasn't mobile enough or lucid enough to figure out, well, I can kind of duck under this thing and slide out, so it would just stop him, and he would sit there trapped until I would get up. And, you know, I joke with him, trying to escape again. You're trying to sneak out, and I'd take the bed rail down and get him in his wheelchair and get him out of bed. So I share this with you because, you know, as the hospice people saw this, you know, Ada would come into the house and she'd be like, what the heck did you do to the bed now? And I'm like, well, he's been sneaking out at night, so I had to figure out how to, outsmart him. So these are the kind of things, and, you know, the hospice people were amazed. They're like, wow, you keep like figuring this stuff out. How do you figure it out? And I go, I don't know. I just keep looking for ways to keep Dad safe and protect him from himself. So you're not going to get this information from anybody in the healthcare business. You know, like Ada's job was to bathe Dad, to check him, to take care of him, and she did it fabulously. But if you're the primary caretaker, you're going to have this responsibility to keep them safe and literally protect them from themselves, and it takes creativity. It takes figuring out ways to keep them from injuring themselves, hurting themselves. And, you know, the modifications I had to make to his hospital bed are just one example of the many little things we had to figure out over time to care for Dad. By the way, if you're caring for somebody and you're having those sneaking out at night problems, feel free to steal all my bed ideas and put them to use to protect your loved one and keep them safe. So I just want to say, I hope this made a difference for you. Remember, we're the Alzheimer's support community now. So any comments you have, support, things you can share that will make a difference for people, put them in the comments below so people can benefit from your experience as you've cared for your loved ones with Alzheimer's. And then if you like the content today, please go ahead and hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and the bell notifications so you can get content on a regular basis now as my partner Sid and I publish these videos. And Sid, shout out to you for the great work you do in the video editing, the adding pictures, graphics, all that stuff's beyond my level of skill, and it's not a skill I want to learn. So it's great to have a partner like Sid, really collaborating and bringing the great content to this channel that we have and we will continue to as we move forward. I'm also shortly going to be bringing on some guests because I want people to hear from different experiences of people dealing with Alzheimer's disease, be it people that have been caring for their families or loved ones, maybe professionals in the field, so we can keep bringing good, relevant content to all of you. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in. Make it a great day, and we'll see you soon.